This episode of I Am the Trend TV is brought to you by Threadbird Printing, high quality screen printing at affordable prices. What is up, everyone? Adam from IAMTHETREND.com, and tonight we have Tim from Epyon Royal. Thank you so much for
How's,
joining us.
hey man, I appreciate you having me.
So, for those of the viewers that have never heard of your brand before, why don't you just give us a little backstory? I know you've been around now for quite some time. How did you start the brand? What was the idea? And what do you guys stand for? Or what do you stand for?
I started Epyon Royal back in 2009. I've had I grew up lower middle class, so I've had jobs my whole life since I was like 11 years old. And in 2009, I got fired from Red Lobster, and I had been working there for a long time, and I was making like at the time good money. And when I got fired, I kind of realized that I was sick of um, working day jobs and not being creative. So I took my last $100 from uh, my bank account and just started up Beyond Royal. But
Nice.
yeah, been around for about 7 years now, and
It's
it's all
still going strong.
yeah, it's
Stronger than
my main
ever.
job. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. So this is your full time gig right now.
yeah. Well, it's been like that since I started, pretty much.
Wow, that's super impressive. So you started with $100. I guess what's the first thing you did?
The first thing I did was I'm a designer, so I've always been designing stuff. But I came up with this logo. It was like a bird and
Hmm.
on a diamond, and I kind of took the elements from like a font collection at first. I didn't illustrate it. I just kind of took these random elements from these wingding font collections.
Nice.
Because I didn't know if the brand was gonna be a thing, so I was like, "Oh, this looks cool." I stacked them on top of each other, and then I printed. It was like 25 shirts, maybe, and then I literally put them in a trunk of my 1999 Mercury Cougar and drove to skate parks and just, I don't know,
Just
pressured
hustled.
people into buying them. Yeah, just kind of held them out and was like, hey, do you like this shirt? And people would be like, yeah, that's cool. And I'd be like, all right, you want
Well,
to buy it for $10? And that was basically what happened.
wow, dude, just super like guerrilla, hitting the street, printing your own shirts. So you're pretty much you are a one man um, person behind the brand, right? I mean, you do the designing, the printing, the marketing, photography, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I do everything. I do have assistants sometimes with designs, but that those are few and far between. A lot of the things that are more illustrated, um, I have had done by other people, but probably 98% of the artwork, I make all of that. I do all the photography. If you go to the Epyon Royal YouTube channel, I film and edit and upload all those videos.
That's
Yeah,
killer.
I do everything.
So you do it all.
Yeah.
Where do you get your ideas for the brand, or what's is there a certain theme around what Epion Royal stands for and what your brand is all about? Are they buying into something? And what is that?
Well, when I first started, the brand kind of was nothing. It was like a vapid idea, and I think that's how a lot of uh, people start brands. They don't even know what it is, why they're even making clothes, and that was the same thing for me. I just like I don't know, maybe I was egotistical to think I could design something that people would want to wear outside, but it like didn't have a super deep meaning. And as time went on, and as I like claimed ownership of it and really kind of lived that lifestyle, it grew its own organic meaning. So when you look at every single design that we have has like a theme behind it. It has like a hidden message. There's like a meaning or a story behind it. But most of those designs, we don't explain the story, and our customers they know that, so they'll try to dig to figure out what it is, and it's almost like music lyrics. People create their own opinion or rendition. They try to figure out what it is or what that shirt means to them. Um,
Very cool.
but as far as like aesthetics, we don't have like an aesthetic theme. like I think a lot of brands since the Johnny Cupcakes epidemic, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I got to pick one topic and that's all I'm going to do and that's what I'm gonna sell, and everything is gonna be about tea bags or everything is gonna be about candy canes, and that's it. And in reality, is like uh, people can't really do that after Johnny Cupcakes. Um, and I think like that probably hurts his brand a lot too. But yeah, he's the first one to do that, and I don't think many people that try to do what he did are successful at that.
Sure. I mean, I think there's definitely two different things, right? There's like copying somebody else's idea for doing just like a food thing, and then there's different brands that have themes around something a little more broad. Now, you're saying that your theme really is kind of individual to like the set of t-shirts that you put out at one time. Is that true? I guess, do you run into any problems where like somebody doesn't actually know what to come to Epyon Royal for because they don't know what that brand theme really is?
Uh, as far as like marketing goes, yeah, it's been like a slow grind in that aspect because when you're marketing a product, typically if you're smart, you want to say who is this for? This shirt is for skateboarders in California who are 16 to 25 and it's going to appeal to one specific demographic. That's how you make a lot of money quick, but that's not how you get longevity. I mean, as you know, like you could go to PacSun and the brands are almost completely different now than they were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Diamond Supply Co. wasn't relevant, but stuff like Volcom was. But when you go to the store, there's a lot less shelf space for brands like Volcom
Sure.
because it's too direct, it's too played out. Um, but yeah, I have it's a gift and a curse. In one hand, I don't have a very specific market that I sell to, um, so so it's harder to acquire customers instantly. But I think the ones that I do acquire, when they dig deeper into like the meaning of the brand's name
Sure.
and the like iconography of the logo and the designs, it's almost like a game for some customers, and they're more passionate about it. Whereas if I did the themed route, and I was like, oh, this brand is for girls who like volleyball. Like I could have made a lot more money sooner and just went to volleyball tournaments and stuff like that and made money off random people, but I feel like they would be less invested in what I'm doing.
Yep.
Um, I think Greg mentioned
Greg from Miles to
he
Go, just for
yep,
everyone
miles
else.
to go. He got backlash for doing a Harry Potter thing, and I think that's because he's so kind of disconnected from the art, and his brand is tailored to a very specific niche that those people feel ownership over like what the topic like the content of the brand is. So when
Hmm.
he brought in the Harry Potter design, which he probably should have brought in way way sooner to make more money, but when he finally was like, okay, I can do this in a creative way that I don't feel like a sellout by doing it in this way,
Sure.
his customers were like, they're too hip for it. They're they're like, oh, we don't want to see Harry Potter. We want uh, a To Kill a Mockingbird shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So,
And
I
go
mean,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, I guess going farther, when you're not marketing specifically towards a certain demographic, how are you marketing right now? I've heard that you do some stuff with like celebrities, or like music scene, things like that. Is that basically how you're marketing right now?
Well, I almost treat the brand like the brand is almost like a direct reflection of maybe perhaps my interests and in my group like around me. It's like a collective interest kind of thing. So I've always been into skateboarding. I've always been into music. I've been in bands, and basically, when it comes to like Detroit music, it's almost synonymous with Epyon Royal. So,
Wow.
so we do host a lot of concerts. We host a lot of pop up shops. I've worked with a lot of like I guess you would call them like famous, like bands and rappers and models and stuff like that, but you don't really convert on those relationships. They're more like it's almost just more support to it. I think it serves more as a validation
Sure,
for
that
the
makes sense.
brand. Like the perception of it is bigger because you're uh, advertising your product with, like, say, Hobson is a rapper that we worked with in the past, but just because, say, a band that's popular wears a shirt doesn't necessarily mean
They're
I'm
going to buy it.
selling more. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. You
How are
don't
you?
really.
So how are you guys approaching, or how are you approaching, these rappers and bands and the people in the scene and getting them to wear these shirts?
Well, most of them have just been organic. I either knew them beforehand and we all just kind of came up together and hustled together. And once we got to a point with our individual pathways to where we could lend our platforms to be mutually beneficial, then it just kind of clicked. But I have emailed bands that I was personally a fan of and reached out. Um, Instagram is a good way to find out who would be a good fit for your company.
Why don't you go into that a little bit? Because I think that's a really good point, but I'm not sure a lot of people know how to do that or how to
Uh,
approach that.
as far as Instagram
Yeah,
specifically,
yeah. Like how are you finding people on Instagram and then reaching out?
well, like I'm really guerrilla warfare with my social media. It's almost like invasive the amount of social media tactics I use, but when it comes to social media, you just search hashtags that you like. Like if you're into car, well, my brand is kind of weird because we'll sponsor cars, we'll sponsor skaters, we'll sponsor this. But say if your brand has a theme and you're a basketball oriented brand, then you just search basketball related hashtags,
Hmm.
and there might be a kid on Instagram who has no idea that he can monetize his platform, but he films himself doing trick shots every day, and his videos and pictures get 10,000 likes, tons of comments, and he's just doing it for fun, but he has a huge platform. And if your brand speaks to that person, you could probably contact him and be like, "Hey, I love what you're doing. Check out our website. If you like what we do, I'll be happy to send some product your way. Like we could have a call, like a video call. I'd love to get to know you." And depending on the person, they might just do it for free, and you could build an organic relationship. Or sometimes you have to come out of pocket. I've never done that,
Sure.
but like even you can contact like Justin Bieber's management and pay him like $25,000 per post to post about your product.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot of
actually
celebrities do that.
my full-time gig is around influencer marketing. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's my bread and butter. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people haven't realized that the power of influencers and just reaching out to them, and a lot of times you can get them to do it for free, just for product or for very cheap. So that's a great way of going about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of brands when they start off, it's all about the illusions of grandeur, and they want to be in the stores and they want to be on the celebrities. But in today's day and age, um, a kid with 10,000 Instagram followers, he's the new celebrity. There's
Hundred
there's
percent.
uh there's way more micro celebrities, and a lot less people care about like dinosaur celebrities and trying to pay Justin Bieber $1 million to wear your shirt when you could pay uh 50 micro Justin Biebers, or just give away 50 shirts to kids that are out there hustling that would
Yep.
probably love your product.
No, it's great advice. I mean, I can't agree with that anymore. So, I guess moving on to the next thing, what if so? It sounds like you've had a lot of successes. You've done a lot of hustling and hard work, which I absolutely love. Anything that sticks out to you, over the 7 years that was kind of maybe a mistake or something that went wrong, something that you wish you could go back and tell yourself to avoid.
Well, I kind of look at, like, hindsight is 2020. So if I look back on all the the dollars I spent having somebody else print my merchandise, and all the problems that I had, and the plastisol inks, and like companies trying to sell me uh like third grade shirts where the seams are all messed up, or like I kind of regret that because those shirts that I sent to you for I Am the Trend for the review, those were the some of the last shirts that I had printed by another company, and since then I've printed all my own stuff. Um, and all I use is eco-friendly stuff, water-based inks, so everything is better quality. It's softer, and I pay a way better price to have a higher quality product. And then that savings, I get to pass that down to my customers, and that lets them be able to afford to buy more. So there's more of my products out there. I think that is probably one thing I wish I could go back and just start printing all my stuff from the beginning.
So let's talk about that because I think a lot of brands are interested in printing their own clothes, but it's kind of this scary thing, and it seems like it's going to be very or very costly to kind of get started. Can you speak to like how you decided to start screen printing and how you learned and what your steps were?
Uh, yeah, it is definitely a scary step to take. But in reality, if you are trying to run a brand and you're paying taxes and you went through and did all the paperwork, and you're really invested in it, you should buy the equipment. You should do it yourself. I think a lot of people, it's just maybe it's American society as a whole. It's like get rich quick. How can I get the most amount of money for the least amount of work? But I'm kind of like the opposite. I'll work all day and all night, um, to make sure it's done right than I would to just try to pay somebody else to do it. But any advice that I could give, screen printing specifically, just buy. You could go on like websites that sell kits where you could do like one color shirts, and the kits are like $250. Um, roughly, like sometimes you could get them cheaper if you buy them from China or whatever. I would suggest doing that. Save up $250 and just do all of your own one color shirts. And then if you do a lot of like 4 or 5 CMYK, if you do foil print, which I don't know why you would in 2016, but if you're doing foil print, like all the complicated stuff, you can outsource and you can pay the premium because they have the knowledge.
Sure.
So if you're not educated in that area, then that's what you're paying. You're paying a premium for somebody else's skills. But if you do all your, I think one color prints is like any brand's bread and butter. And I think if you invest that small amount of money into at least your one colors and start with that, you'll already be ahead of the curve.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I think you're one of the few brands that I've talked to that do print their own stuff. I mean, whether it's one color or not. So it's really cool that you're doing that. So when you say kit, I'm actually not familiar with what you're talking about. What does a one color print consist of, or a kit for that?
Well, there's a website that you could go on. They're not paying me, so I won't plug the website. But if you search Google, they're probably the first. They're probably all the first options. If you search screen printing kit, it's probably all their website.
Okay.
They definitely have their SEO game on lockdown. But um, when
So,
you get a kit, basically, you'll get a press, so it'll be like an arm. You'll get a platen, and then you'll probably get like one screen. You'll get enough emulsion to coat the screen, maybe like 3 or 4 times. You'll get like small test colors of ink. It essentially gives you everything you need, and there's a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to use
great
specific
resource. Yeah,
kits.
absolutely.
Um, but yeah, it'll just come with it's like the starter kit, and you can also find them on Craigslist all the time. I don't know if every state uses Craigslist, but a lot of people they say, "Oh, I'm gonna work for myself." They buy the kit and then they don't take the time to learn the skill, and then they'll sell it on Craigslist for half what they paid for it.
Yeah, really good advice, man. So what's what's some of the mistakes that you think that brands that you've seen run into? That I mean, you've been around now for 7 years, and there's definitely hundreds, if not thousands, of brands that have come and gone in that time.
Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody that's starting their brand tomorrow?
Tomorrow, there's so many. I would probably say if you're not a hard worker and you're not gonna uh there's a mantra I live by. It's called it costs to be the boss. If you're really going to be self-employed and you're really going to create a culture, because when you create a brand, what you're really creating is a culture. You're creating an idea. You're creating a message, and then you have to convince people that your message is worth buying into. That's why I sell so many shirts, because people resonate with my story, and coming literally from nothing to being what I am today, whatever that is. It's whatever. But um, what I would say is, if you're not gonna spend at least 12 hours a day running the brand, you probably shouldn't do it, because it's a slow burn and it takes a very long time to start making significant amount of money. Um, but I actually, on my YouTube channel, I have this little video series that I've been doing. It's called "How to Start a Brand for Free," where I kind of list a lot of really specific steps. Um,
That's great. Well,
but yeah, that's what I would say. That's more important, I think. Working, investing pretty much the
well,
rest of your life until further notice into the project. I think more than like anything else.
yeah.
That's
Well, I think one of the things that people get into is they think t-shirts are going to be an easy thing. Like it's a relatively low area, entry to or barrier to entry rather.
yeah,
But it isn't. I mean, it's definitely easy to put some designs on a shirt and like put up a store, but it's not easy to actually build a brand and drive customers and repeat customers and things like that. And that all takes a lot of time. Is what you know. I think you're absolutely hit the nail on the head on that.
yeah.
So
But yeah, as far as the barrier to entry, yeah, if you go to like Salvation Army and you just walk through T-shirts, you'll it's a graveyard of like half-ass brands. Because a lot of people, they start the company, they'll have like a really crappy design. They have like 2 day jobs, so this is like their side project. Um, and they're not even like paying attention to trends or anything, so they're using like all over foil print, and they pay to have tags made, and they just try to go all out. They pay a lot of money, but they don't put all the effort to match that money.
yep,
And if you go through the t-shirt aisles of like Salvation Armies and stuff, you'll see like literally groups of deceased brands, rest in peace to them.
that's
um,
hilarious.
but yeah, easy come, easy go. And if you think it's gonna be easy, then basically,
You're
uh,
mistaken.
yeah,
You're definitely
essentially.
mistaken. So what's speaking of not easy? What's the most difficult thing about running a brand? Is it just the time and effort put in?
Um, I don't. The most difficult thing, I think, validating validating what you do to other people, I think, is probably the hardest thing, because everybody has ideas, and I'm sure everybody has amazing ideas, but ideas, they're not you can't monetize an idea. You have to monetize the action it takes to bring that idea to life. And I think when you run a brand, that's almost like every entrepreneur's first idea to start a brand. So when you first start out, you'll say, "Oh, I have this brand. I sell t-shirts." And then people's reaction is like, "Yeah, I know like 8 people that have t-shirt companies." So, I think the hardest thing for me is actually, customer acquisition, and then like trying to help those people understand and actually care for your brand. Like right now, I call them the ERSS, which is Epyon Royal Street Soldiers. And that's kind of like the people that really support Epyon Royal. They buy something every time they get a paycheck. They're supporting Epyon Royal. They're keeping food on my plate. Um, those people are almost like impossible to get for a lot of brands, I feel like.
Sure.
But I don't know if I have some secret sauce or
You
something
must. You
that
must.
I hope so. But that I think is probably the hardest thing, convincing people to care about your idea.
100%. Because no one's going to care about it as much as you do.
That is true, and plus, I think people let their ego get in the way of their progress, and I think they assume people should care, but in actuality, it's you just got to keep doing it until people notice what you're doing, and it's like you got to let people decide on their own whether or not they care. You can't just call your friends every time you have a new shirt and beg them to buy it.
Yeah, right. After the first time, that doesn't work so well.
Yeah, I mean, I did that for a long time, but I stressed relationships and people would get mad, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should definitely be selling these to other people too.
Absolutely. So, as far as Epyon Royal for the rest of 2016, any major plans, or what are you looking forward to?
Uh, 2016, like there's new stuff every week. I feel like 2016, we have shows that we're hosting. We have one in March on the 26th. It's like our 7 year anniversary show with our favorite local bands. We're gonna be on maybe like 5 to 7 days of Warp Tour this year.
Nice.
Um,
Have you done
yeah,
that
just
before?
yeah, we went on Warp Tour last year for 3 dates. Um, but this year we're gonna do five. Next year we'll do 10, and then maybe the next year after that we'll just do the whole thing if they let us. But yeah, in the YouTube channel, I think is probably the biggest thing. Um, Throughout the years, I've kind of neglected the YouTube channel and just used it as a way to like place commercials and like kind of boring content almost. But now I've been posting since January. I've been posting almost bi-weekly. Uh, so
That's great, man.
yeah, I'm using that as a way to open up a direct dialogue with the people that actually care and hopefully gain some new followers from it. So
That's
yes,
killer.
subscribe to our YouTube if you're watching this and you run your own brand or you want to run a brand. Subscribe to our YouTube/Epyon Royal,
Yeah,
and
we'll
we
link
have
it too. We'll put it in
yeah,
the
that would be
description.
cool.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
we're gonna have a lot of videos for like tutorials and stuff for other people
That's
that
awesome, man. I love
run
when
brands.
other brands or just companies in general, they don't only make product, but they teach what they're doing, and they're very open. And they you get a lot of really good content, and people look to you as an authority, and they want to come to you to both learn and to buy. So that's awesome, man. Bravo on that. I wish more brands would do that.
Yeah, I think it's important because there was like a saying, teach somebody how to grow their own food instead of just give people food. I think when you give somebody that wants to be like you the tools to be their own person and to follow their own passion, they'll have a greater appreciation for you. And just because somebody starts their own brand doesn't mean they're gonna stop supporting what you do. Uh,
Absolutely.
so so yeah, I just want to provide as many people with as many keys to as many limitless doors as I possibly can and help people succeed like I have.
Well, that's rad, man. I really, I think that's great. We'll make sure to link the YouTube channel and, of course, the brand. And we'll absolutely be keeping an eye on Epyon Royal for the rest of the year, man. Thank you so much for taking
I
the
appreciate
time,
it.
dropping knowledge. Anything else you want to shout out before we end this call?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Bilo. I'd like to shout out Poopy, uh, Big Chad, and Big Rob holding it down. I hope this don't get cut from the video, but yeah, subscribe to I Am the Trend if you haven't. This guy's a legend,
Yeah,
and
right.
you better respect the legend.
I love it. Drop the mic. All right, Tim. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. T-
Thank you, man.
take care.
Stay royal.
This episode of I Am the Trend TV is brought to you by Threadbird Printing, high quality screen printing at affordable prices.